Oh, and here we are with the Lukozer Supreme Shit Game Database, entry number 3. I didn't think I'd be doing the third game in this playlist quite so quickly, but here we are. So I want you to picture the scene, okay? You have, a Commodore 64, and you're also a fan of racing games, and you visited a mate who had an Amiga, and he had Crazy Cars 2 for the Amiga, and because your lobotomy was so successful, you were impressed enough with Crazy Cars 2 on the Amiga that you decide to buy it for your Commodore 64. You've already got the first Crazy Cars game for Commodore 64, and you perhaps wisely thought, well, Crazy Cars 2 can only be an improvement. It couldn't even be as shit, let alone worse. Now, I've had to start the video when I'm here on this entering the high score, because this game has no title page at all. It just throws you straight into the game, whether you want to play it or not. So I think that's quite enough build up, so I won't put my name in. As you can see, I didn't exactly go overboard with putting my name in on my first ever go of this game, and got to stage 7 with a score of 4.8 million. Anyway, get ready for this. Yep. Same fucking bullshit fucking track. Same shitty fucking backgrounds. Same fucking unbearably irritating tyre squeal. It's insect flying in front of the screen fucking bollocks again. They have reused almost every single fucking piece of code from the first one for the second. So let's have a look at the differences. The differences are, firstly, the car you're driving is a Ferrari F40, and it is throughout the entire game. You do not change car. Secondly, all of the other cars on the track are police cars. Thirdly, as you have seen, if you hit anything, instead of bouncing up, you now explode. And finally, sometimes, as you've just seen there, going around a corner, your car spins very unconvincingly. And oh yeah, and there's no title screen. And that is everything that's different. The audio is identical, including that fucking unbelievably irritating tyre squeal. The car is as controllable as it was before, i.e. not at all. The graphics are every bit as shit. I mean, you rightly thought that Titus were taking the piss when they released the first Crazy Cars for Commodore 64. And incidentally, Crazy Cars was 10 quid. And so was this. Can you imagine if you had bought the first Crazy Cars for your Commodore 64, paid 10 quid for that, and then on the strength of playing the Amiga version, if you really were fucking stupid enough to like the Amiga version, you thought, okay, I'll buy Crazy Cars 2 then because it's a big improvement. And you're confronted with this again. Because this bears absolutely fuck all resemblance to the Amiga version. I mean, the Amiga version is utter shit, but for a whole load of different reasons. I will review the Amiga version eventually, but I've done quite a few racing games lately, so I want to take a break from them. Especially when it comes to reviewing Crazy Cars 2. I've got to take a break before I even think about doing that fucking thing. But I mean, this has, this bears no resemblance to Crazy Cars 2 on the Amiga at all. And for one thing, on the Amiga version, you have to keep referring to a map and making sure you take the right turning so that you can get to the finishing point, in the fastest time. But in this, it's exactly the same as the first Crazy Cars. You're just going from one point to another on these fucking bullshit fucking, these bullshit fucking roads that have corners in them that are like corkscrews. I mean, okay, I know there are plenty of, game developers who use, bits of code from previous games. But when you consider how shit Crazy Cars for the Commodore 64 was, for Titus to then use 90% of that code for Crazy Cars 2, despite the fact that, well, certainly all of the 16-bit versions bore almost no resemblance to the first Crazy Cars game. It's fucking unbelievable how much Titus were taking the piss. I mean, if you look on the top there, just underneath the high score, it has Route 40, and that's important on the Amiga version. You have to know that you're on the right road to get to the finishing point. But on here, it's just decoration. It is utterly meaningless. It doesn't matter what fucking road you're on. You've just got to get from point A to point B. So all they have done is make the car explode and change what the cars look like. Your car is now a Ferrari F40 and all of the other cars are just the same police car sprite. Everything else is identical to Crazy Cars, and they've released this as Crazy Cars 2 and want people to spend another 10 quid on it. I mean, were Titus that fucking mental that they seriously thought, yeah, the first Crazy Cars was so fucking good, there's no point coding a new game, let's just use all the, attributes and everything from the first game, shove them in the second one, sell it again, and we'll get another 10 quid, because everybody who bought the first Crazy Cars game thought it was so fucking great, they're just gonna love being able to play exactly the same fucking game again. I mean, the first Crazy Cars game on the Commodore 64 was a stinking heap of shit. This is not only a stinking heap of shit, but it is fucking insulting to the intelligence of anyone who had a Commodore 64 that Titus thought, people would want to pay another 10 quid to buy this shit again. And this came out in 1988, the year after the first Crazy Cars, except Crazy Cars did come out in 88. So this came out in 1989. 1989, and this was Titus's idea of a good Commodore 64 game in '89. Even fucking Karnov was better than this. Even hard driving. Even the Lee Enfield games. None of those games have appeared in the ultimate, you know, shit game database. You know, Karnov didn't appear in it. Hard driving didn't appear in it. And yet Titus have appeared in it twice. With the first two Crazy Cars games. It's a miracle that any cunt actually bought Crazy Cars 3. But, you know, amazingly, Titus actually decided to make Crazy Cars 3 completely original. It had absolutely fuck all to do with this or the first one. But it was too little too late. Surely no one on a Commodore 64 went near the fucking thing. And this game is fucking insulting. It's also ridiculously easy. I mean, the first Crazy Cars game is fucking ludicrous. But, I mean, I'm on track 8 or something. My score is 5.2 million. It is fucking boring, as well as utter shit, as well as fucking insulting, as well as an unbelievable fucking rip-off as far as the price goes, especially when you consider that you're basically just buying Crazy Cars again. On top of all of that, there is no challenge to it whatsoever. It is ludicrously fucking easy. It is coma-inducing in how boring it is. I'd rather watch the fucking animation sequence at the start of Lemmings 2 than fucking play this shit. But fucking hell, another course finish. Oh, that's I've fucking had enough. Prepare for the next run. Yeah, yeah, there you go. Right, I'll stop. So there you go. Crazy Cars 2 for Commodore 64. Every bit as shit as Crazy Cars 1, but because of the fact that Titus had basically changed what the cars look like, made the cars explode now when you hit anything at all, no matter how slowly. But other than that, they have released the same game again, the same utter shit game again, and expect people to pay another fucking 10 quid for this. And this is worse than the first one for all those reasons, because as well as being the fucking pile of shit that it is, you know, and as well as effectively just being Crazy Cars re-released, it is fucking insulting that Titus actually thought Commodore 64 owners would want this. Titus can just go and fuck themselves. I'd be interested to hear, I mean, I'm pretty sure after this video no one from Titus would even think about it, but if anyone from Titus could actually offer any sort of explanation as to how they could justify this, I would be interested to hear it. But expect a fucking barrage of fucking abuse while you're doing it, because after releasing this shit, that is precisely what you deserve. So that is Crazy Cars 2. Fucking insulting. I'm sure I've covered that perfectly well enough. So just think, the fourth entry is likely to be even worse. I'll be in no hurry to add that one.